Hello, everyone. Welcome to Detox, the Design Podcast. This is your host, Sanjay Reddy, and I am back with a really interesting episode. In this episode, we're going to talk about women in transportation design industry. Now, we all know that transportation design is dominated by men. There are very few transportation designers who are women, and Pallavi Gautam is one of them. Now, Pallavi Gautam started as an engineer and then moved on to Masters in Design at IIT Delhi. Now, after she graduated from there, she went on to work for Royal Enfield for more than 5 years. After gaining experience as an industrial designer at Royal Enfield, she decides to take up Masters in Transportation Systems and Design at Artcenter College of Design in California. Now, in this episode, Pallavi talks about her experiences, her journey in design, how her experience was at Royal Enfield and what are the things that she learned during the way. And she also shares about the female perspective in the field of transportation design. Now, Pallavi Gautam is actively working in mobility UX. You can see her work on www.pallavigautam.com. Feel free to reach out to her. Now, with that being said, let's just dive into the conversation. So, hi Pallavi, welcome to Detox, and how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good, and thank you for joining me today. Thank you for taking out time
Mm-hmm.
and doing this with me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for inviting me.
We don't really see a lot of female designers going for transportation design, so it is a
Mm-hmm.
pleasure to have you here today.
Rare breed, right?
Yeah, specifically cut out for transportation, I would say.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I would like to start talking about Artcenter College for Design because you are
Okay.
doing your master's. You're probably at the end of it by now. I believe you've finished your thesis right now.
Yeah, I've recently finished my thesis. I've graduated,
Mm.
and it's a 2 years course. I did masters in transportation systems and design, and it's it's my second masters, I would say, and I was always interested in understanding mobility and transportation. So that's why like my previous experience also lies there. But this just gives me a better understanding, or it widens my learning experience in a more system level design, I would say, rather than a product centric. So that was mostly here at Art Center, and it's a very interdisciplinary branch, and it's very unlike undergrad transportation design. What happens at Art Center?
Mm.
Um, yeah, so it's a mix of a lot of research that goes into it, a lot of ethnography research that we do before designing anything,
Okay.
and understanding urban scenarios and built environment, because mobility and transportation, it's a part of a certain environment, right?
There are actually a lot of things that I'd like to discuss with you because you have
Mhm.
gone through different phases. I mean, you have been to IIT Delhi, studied masters that, like you said,
Mhm.
this is a double masters. So to start with, let's just start with why did you decide to go for a double masters?
Yeah, so I never decided to go for a double masters, but
Mhm.
it was just so my experience in India as an industrial designer. So I worked for like more than 5 years, and I started realizing that I need to know more, explore more at a global level. So
Mhm.
I started looking for some like PhD courses
Right. Okay.
outside, and there are very few options in design, especially if you see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this course
Totally.
particularly I really liked because it was research centric,
Mm.
and I started interacting with enrolled students and faculty to know more about what they're doing. So this was among one of the three colleges that I decided.
Mhm.
One was Royal College of Arts, Intelligent Mobility, and there is one Media Labs, MIT.
Okay.
So they do a lot of research. So there are few colleges that were, in my view, like it was good for my path, what I was choosing, and Art Center happened to be like double masters. I,
Yeah.
I, it's very different from the masters that I did in India, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How is it different?
so
Like,
that
how is this
inspired me.
master's different from the one that you've done in India?
Again, the course structure is very different because I did industrial design from IIT Delhi.
Hmm.
So I bet like industrial design even at Art Center would be somewhat similar because you need to know, like in India, when I was doing industrial design, the more focus was on manufacturing processes, knowing how things work, like from a product centric approach.
Hmm.
And it was a good learning because that was my first experience for design. Like I never knew what is design until then. So I did engineering before that. So it's like a very different path that I was taking, and I was trying to understand design. So when I came to Art Center, I knew that okay, I do have some understanding of design and I can explore more. So that's why the whole experience was very different. Yeah, and looking at the faculty at my course, I would say because it's a design school, unlike a
Uh-huh.
technology school like IIT, so
Right.
they have like more opportunity area to work with or collaborate with different people with different artistic skills.
Oh,
So
okay.
there are students from entertainment design, there are students from furniture design,
Right.
animation, interaction design. So you have so many variety of design students, right? So you can learn from a lot of people. And I think this might be similar for college like NID, where
Mm.
it's focused on design
Yeah.
education. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the main difference, I would say.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Hmm.
The community is different in a way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Both has pros and cons.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. So, any uh, I also saw some of your projects that you've done
Mhm.
after you've joined at Art Center. There was one particular project that was really interesting, the inverse universe.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Got it.
how did you come up with that idea? Where you use
So,
microscopic AR and you do a lot
yeah.
of things there. Like, I want you to talk about that
Hmm.
project a little.
Yes, I'll just go to basic. Like design is all about iterating
Hmm.
and ideating. So that was a project which was formed in process. Like we did something, it didn't work out, and then you try something else. And
Right.
it was the whole process, the whole journey that was really interesting. And we never thought that we'll do microscopic AR, but we were just exploring this image sensing and some different softwares like Vuforia and Unity.
Right.
For like image recognition, you need to have a camera,
Okay.
and generally people use either laptop camera or webcam or mobile phone camera. So it was a team project of two. So we just thought and explored more that why not use this microscopic camera. So we were just checking online and
Okay.
we ordered one. We never knew that it would work or not because it's such a tiny microscopic image. Would it be able to recognize it or not?
Hmm.
And then we did it and it worked in certain cases. It didn't work out in certain cases, but we developed the whole concept, taking that as like a creative journey of ours. So it was an interesting journey, I would say.
That
Yeah.
was very interesting because I've never seen something like that coming from somebody who is into transportation design. Because usually
Hmm.
99% of the portfolios I've seen, even big designers, they're all,
Right.
whether it is future mobility or everything
Hmm.
revolves around mobility. But this is something that you have a little different from mobility.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I feel that there is a misconception where people or students they think that making beautiful sketches
Yes.
is automobile designing.
Yeah.
But I would totally disagree. Like based on whatever experience I have,
Yes.
sketching is not designing. And I would like to like tell these to aspiring designers and young
Yes.
designers who are like intimidated by looking at portfolios of some automobile designers, and they're like, oh no, I can't do that. So
Exactly.
it's not that, please don't be intimidated by that, because it's just a skill which can be developed.
Mm.
And there are a lot of techniques what designers use to make it look so nice, right?
Mm.
But it's all about design thinking and innovation and creativity. And if you see, it's very different from what used to happen like 20, 30 years back in automobile design, where people were mostly focused on exterior design of a
Yes.
car.
Yes.
But now it has just reversed. It has reversed because people are less affected by the exteriors, but they're more focused on the interior of the design,
Yeah.
because that contains the actual human, and
Yeah.
where you can provide those luxuries, those touch points, because that's the closest area, right?
Yeah.
The closest space. So a lot of people are switching from like traditional exterior to interior design courses.
Mm.
And when you go to interior design courses, it's not only about beautiful forms. It's mixed with maybe a screen,
Yeah.
a display, right? And a display can have, that should have a lot of interaction, and a lot of interaction designers are working in automobile industry.
Yeah.
So you see there is this convergence happening in different design fields. So it's
Mhm.
not only like about transportation design. It's like people from different design backgrounds are contributing in automobile design field.
Yeah.
So should be open enough for that to explore more and find what inspires you most, what is your passion, and then move into that segment, like
Yeah.
rather than like seeing into
Yeah.
Google images and portfolios and yeah.
You very rightly said that it's a misconception that people have, and also about the interiors. If you think about it, like 1890s or I think 88 was the first car, the automobile that was made by Carl Benz, I think. And
Hmm.
it went through so much evolution on the outside that it looks completely different.
Mm.
But on the inside, it's still the same. Like, not right now, but at
Yeah.
least 5 years before today, it was exactly the same. Now we have like like autonomous vehicles, and a lot of things are happening on the inside. So that's completely
Yeah.
true, and I agree to that because I am personally interested in automobile interiors, like doing the interiors and all. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
a
It's a
very good point that you've made.
even like students doing furniture design, they are a very good for interior design of a car, because they understand human ergonomics, human
Yes.
factors,
Mm.
and that is also such an important field when it comes to design, like understanding human proportion and human factors.
Right.
So,
So now I see a contrast that we're talking
mhm.
about cars now. We're talking about interior and exterior cars. You
Right.
spent close to 5 years
5 years.
in,
Yeah.
at Royal Enfield.
Motorcycle.
Right.
Right.
So how
True.
did that happen?
Oh, that happened. Before joining Royal Enfield, I did a 3 weeks internship training kind of with them. So, but how that happened, I'm very proactive in talking to people in industry and like
Mhm.
knowing and networking.
Mhm.
So I came across these people like designers from Royal Enfield, and that brand was always like close to my heart, and motorcycles and things. I used to love that as a kid,
Mm.
and I thought like, why not this? And I just approached them, and I guess they just saw. They didn't see my skill set, like how well I can draw motorcycles, but they saw that this girl wants to learn this, and we can support something like that. So they saw the passion and the
So
urge for
beautiful.
me to learn this particular skill. So they supported me, and they just asked me to come for like 2 3 weeks, like come to studio and just see like how things work. And those 3 weeks were really good, because I was so hyperactive. And I they saw that this she wants to learn everything. And I guess that made some place
Yeah,
there. So I left some mark there during my training, and once I graduated, they offered me a job, and that's how I ended up there. And I was the first women designer, girl designer, joined Royal Enfield at that time, and I was the only
amazing,
one. And
amazing.
yeah, it was for me. It was an achievement at that time, but
Definitely.
yeah,
I
it was
mean,
very.
it's really amazing, and I really admire women or girls who do transportation design, and end up at places where it is so tough to reach, and you break it, showing that breaking that
Yeah.
stereotype, and
Hmm.
that's really amazing. That,
True.
and I'm sure a lot
Hmm.
of people look at you and look up to you for as an inspiration to achieve what they want to do.
Yeah, I would like to think that way, and I
Yeah,
that's a good way of saying. And yeah, a lot of people ask me about the same question that you're saying, because it just shows that how
yeah,
few in numbers women or girls are in this industry.
yeah,
And like especially automotive industry, it's so male oriented, and because of this social stigma attached to it.
yeah.
Even like in fact mechanical engineering,
Oh yeah.
I always wanted to do mechanical engineering, but I couldn't do it because no one like motivated me. I did electrical engineering. So that was the first compromise that I did. And third year of my engineering, I knew that no, I want to be in the field where I'm really interested in, and that was something intersection of art and automobile and technology. So that's how I came to know about design career.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And how would you describe your 5 years at Royal Enfield? How was the experience?
It was a great learning curve because that was my first industry experience. So I never worked
Okay.
anywhere else. And I was lucky enough to be in that small team of like six designers and in total like 10 people.
Wow.
So I got a chance to be a part of like all the process, the complete process that was happening there at that time, like from sketching to clay modeling to prototyping to
Mhm.
testing, so all those things. So I was a part of that. So unlike cars, motorcycle also it's very naked,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And you don't just cover it by surfaces or beautiful surfaces. You need to know the product. So those 5 years taught me a lot about motorcycle, like
Okay.
the function, the technology, the chassis, the ergonomics, and the type of motorcycles, everything, and refined my skill set of motorcycling, like riding.
Wow.
So that that was something I did started doing that confidently when I was in Royal Enfield. Before that, it was just an interest and passion, but
Yeah.
I applied that in Royal Enfield. So it was a
That's
very good
nice.
environment in that way. Like I can talk about it for hours. Royal Enfield. Yeah, the design I worked on was Himalayan motorcycle.
Mhm.
So it started in 2012 when like started like discussing sketches and all, and then it was launched in 2016. So those 4 years, I saw the complete development and the design which was happening. I was responsible for a lot of the electrical components of the bike.
Okay.
So, for example, the instrument cluster. So designing that,
Okay.
including the artwork and the casing of the instrument cluster, because if you have seen the bike, it's a adventure tourer bike,
Yeah.
and if you know the brand, like the brand has not done a lot of innovation
Yeah, I
in
know.
terms of like, because they are surviving from that one product which is like bullet and classic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So which is loved all over the country, and to go away or to do something different from whatever the image they have built, it was very different. And this Himalayan was like 90-95%, it was a new motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a big challenge, like how to take it forward, maintaining those traditional cues of the brand,
Hmm.
yet making it very functional, because
Hmm.
it is a functional bike.
Yeah.
Yes,
Carrying forward that very strong DNA of
yes.
Royal Enfield.
Mhm.
Yeah.
True, true.
Yeah,
So as a designer, that is also our responsibility to stand brand,
yeah,
understand people.
yes,
So you need to know what your customer wants, and you need to know the brand you're working for in order to like make or like cook a food which has the same ingredient and then serve the people, and people should love it. So that is the responsibility and very big responsibility of design, of being a designer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some people find it really hard to relate to that.
Hmm.
Commonly made mistakes. I think I also did that when I, started out. That not understanding the brand itself. Like what happens is, like, I'll tell you my story, a small example, because
Hmm.
I love Volvo.
Hmm.
I'm like die hard
Hmm.
for Volvo. So
Right.
when I started my first project about Volvo, I wanted to do something really interesting for that, and it was a self-initiated project, obviously, and completely
Hmm.
lost track of what the DNA is. Because the enthusiasm of doing something new was so
Hmm.
greater than considering the overall brand and doing the research about the brand, digging deeper into
Yeah.
the past and knowing the visual elements that they have. Took me a while to understand that part, so that is really
Hmm.
important as a
Yeah.
designer.
Right. It's all learning. Like once you start doing it, then only you realize, oh, this was a mistake. I need to
Yeah.
do this as well. And like as a designer, I feel that we are very emotional people and we
Oh
get
yes.
attached to our ideas, our designs so quickly. And
Yeah.
working with other designers and like having a healthy group discussion is always a challenge. But
Yeah.
it works out. So we need to know, we need to be very open minded about other people's thoughts and views, and then work towards a better design rather than like my design.
Yeah.
So that is one learning.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Mm.
completely true. So now that you've moved from your job to your
Hmm.
studies, how does that switch
Yeah.
feel? Like you're going back to school again, like after 5 years of being in the industry. How does that feel?
Yeah, I think I took a very good decision
Okay.
and a very brave decision.
Yeah.
Because these 2 years they taught me so much about design for society or for social good, and like introduced me to so many methodologies to conduct design research and a lot of like textual knowledge, those things, especially like when you're in an environment like this, a diverse environment, and
Mhm.
you're talking to people with different cultural backgrounds. So that was a very good experience, and I'm thankful that I considered that, and I am here, and I'm in California right now, and it's a like technology hub.
Yeah.
So I also did some internship at Volkswagen last year
Right.
as a UX design technologist,
Right.
and like using technology to do research,
Hmm.
user research and design research, and
Mhm.
exploring this like virtual reality and augmented reality platform for this narrative and for storytelling of my ideas and design is something which I'm looking forward to.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think unlike before, things are changing at a very high pace.
Yeah.
So, like if you see our parents' generation, they did one job and then they're retiring from one job. But like my generation, millennials, they are switching jobs or they are also freelancing, and
Yeah.
they need to evolve, right? So we need to
Right.
evolve based on how the surroundings are evolving. And I think like the school students now, like school students, and they're referred to as Gen Z,
Mhm.
zillennials,
Yeah.
and they will see much higher changes, and they need to be like uh, a lot more proactive and evolve a lot at a faster pace. So that is something which we should all be aware of, and
Mhm.
the differentiation between what has been the past and what's the present and what can be the future. So
Talking about future, this brings up a very interesting topic now, because the current situation is something very debatable these days, and a lot of discussions are happening on this.
True.
So, what
Mm-hmm.
you're somebody who does a lot of research on this, right? For every
Mm-hmm.
project, and
Mm-hmm.
also your coursework is also, I believe, have oriented you in that direction, right? So, like, how is your perspective, your take on the future of mobility specifically after pandemic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very good question, and I think a lot of people are wondering about it because mobility has been impacted in a lot more ways because people hesitate, especially here, like people hesitate using public transportation. They were already not using it that much, but now
Yeah,
they are like avoiding it. And because people are working from home, the daily commuting routine has changed.
yeah,
And myself, like I have not used an Uber or Lyft for last like 5 months.
wow,
So that's a big change that I
yeah,
feel in my life that I have adapted. So all the upcoming brands like these mobility services, they are also suffering from such downfall. So there has to be like new ways to make people more move more and I have thought about it, but it's still in a very preliminary stage, like what can be the future of mobility, because still there is this innate need for human to move, right? Because they are a mobile animal, I would say, and
right,
they need to move. So if they're not moving for work, they are moving for something else.
yeah,
So if the something else, if we are able to find out what is something else and then provide a solution there, then it's a win situation. Yeah, so all these big brands has to like find ways to yeah, direct themselves into these changing needs.
right.
Yeah.
Do you think the interactions are also going to change with the uh,
It has already
vehicle?
changed.
It has, especially within the vehicle.
Like interaction with vehicles,
Yeah, with vehicles.
it might change. So like one simple example, like having an automatic door or a manual door of maybe I don't know, like in public transport, no one wants to have a
Yeah,
manual door, right?
yeah,
Like in
yeah,
India, you see that trains, they do have that. So it should change because now people don't want to touch that door handle which is touched by so many other people because the thought of that being contaminated, you feel scared. So in order to fix that, they'll have to take some steps like this to change these small design
mhm.
changes, like just making it automatic or something like that.
All right.
What
So
do you think?
I think, yeah, even I would agree with you that a lot of interaction, like the way we interact with the car itself, would change, and also inside the vehicle, it would change for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
somebody who is providing a service.
Yeah.
Like mobility as a service would be redefined, I think,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, Also because we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about, shared mobility before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of
Right.
came to a
Yeah.
stop. Yeah, it like just stalled right now. And
Exactly.
there has to be something that would come up after this pandemic, that the service industry, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money has gone into it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was VTOLs coming up, Lilium Jet and
Mm-hmm.
Uber
Mm-hmm.
Elevate program that was happening.
Right.
Airbus
Right.
was involved, big companies were involved,
Mm-hmm.
and predicting the future for the flying mobility. New version of,
Yeah.
they were
Right.
calling it flying cars, but yeah, they were flying jets.
Yeah.
So that is something that would change. I don't know how, because that is completely service
Yeah.
oriented.
Right.
Yeah,
Hmm. It's targeted for the like richer
yeah,
customer base
yeah,
currently, but all the technology, it all starts with that. So I
yeah,
just got reminded of one example how things are changing due to pandemic. So observe that people have started walking a lot. People
yeah,
have started using like bicycles or scooters,
yeah,
e-bikes. They have started using that a lot. And even I see that there are signages and signboards for like there is road divided and given back to people who are walking and who are using such
Yeah,
modes of transport.
that's good.
So there is this reverse thing happening. So where the cars were dominating the road, now it's like now they have some smaller space and more
Yeah,
space is given to people on road actually. So this is happening. So mobility and city is like so closely linked, right? How people move.
yes, very interesting and very good point. And now this brings back something to my mind that you mentioned that the road is now, people are giving more space for the pedestrians or the people who are using bicycles.
Hmm.
So the way automobiles evolved the industry, like
Hmm.
Model T, going back to those days when you have Model T and all,
Hmm.
assembly line was invented.
Yeah,
There were a lot of cars, and
right.
the roads which where people,
Mm.
the kids used to play and all those things, sort of
Yeah,
diminished, and the cars, they started occupying the road more. Now
right.
as we are observing that it is going back a little, so this
Hmm.
is a very interesting situation, and I feel that there's going to be a lot of opportunities because, like we were discussing, that there is a lot of convergence happening right now. A lot of
Mm.
different fields are coming together to make things work.
Hmm.
So this
Yeah,
might lead
right.
to more opportunities in design. I feel so.
True. Yeah, so including these micro mobility
Yes.
solutions and the
Yeah.
yeah, the macro mobility. So everything is kind of combining, and
Yeah.
yeah, even like in Uber and Lyft, you can find a scooter nearby. So they are trying to implement that, and now you see that people are actually they have started using it. So they have not stopped moving at all,
Yeah. Yeah. I
like we
know.
discussed before. So they have just found a different way to move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. So I would like to take you back a little. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did you realize that an
Mm-hmm.
electrical engineer has to switch to design? How did
Mm-hmm.
that happen?
So I graduated from electrical engineering
Yeah.
in 2010. And at that time, I enrolled for my design course. So it's like almost a decade back.
Yeah.
So the situation was different at that time. And I knew that as a kid, I used to sketch a lot, right? So I like sketch portraits or like something, and that was a hobby that I had. And when I went to engineering college and I did some projects, I was like quite involved in some of the events that used to happen in college, like in the tech fest and all, where you are building some robots and like having a robot fight. And then I was part of this SAE BAHA, like Society of
Yeah.
Automotive Engineers.
Yeah.
So where I participated in like designing and fabricating this all-terrain vehicle. So like I had a very small role to play in that whole like design team, but that just shows that I always had that interest in like making or building things. So when everyone was like preparing for GRE and CAT, I knew that I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I started looking for options.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started looking for options, and that was third year of my engineering when I came across this IDC, IT Bombay.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, so I started looking into it more, and like IT Bombay, IT Delhi, NID. So these were a few colleges I shortlisted, mostly based on three things, which was first their alumni network in
Mm-hmm.
transportation industry, because I knew that I can make a career out of it because I like visualizing things on paper, and I have this interest towards automobile and creating things. So I realized that, and I thought that okay, design can be an option. I knew nothing about design at that time, frankly speaking. So
Yeah.
I wanted to like know more about what is design. I realized that sketching is something I like and automobile is something I like. So I found that design could be a career option for me.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I started like researching about the potential colleges
Okay.
in India. and NID was like very well known, and it was the only known college. I never knew that IITs do have design courses,
Okay.
and that was only through this IDC collaboration that I got to know about it. And I
Mm.
visited IDC Bombay, and I visited NID through like professor contact. So I wanted to
It's
make
nice.
sure that I'm getting into this, so I need to know more about design. And I started compiling my portfolio and my artworks. I didn't know like what a portfolio should look like. It was a very shitty portfolio, but still I I compiled it, and I
Yeah.
was like confident enough to show it to those professors, and
Yeah.
uh, and they were like encouraging and motivating that okay,
Mm.
you can do it and something like that. Yeah, so I started preparing for seed examination. Yeah,
And how did you
that's how
prepare
I
for that? How
got to
did you
know.
prepare for seed?
That was a tough job because at that time there was no coaching center for
Yeah.
design
Yeah.
education. So I was still doing AIEEE coaching.
Wow.
And as sorry, no, sorry, that was my 12th standard. Oh God, I was in college. I was yes, I didn't join CAT coaching. I confusing CAT and AIEEE. So people were doing exams for CAT, and so I just ordered a course material at that time, which I found somewhere online. I don't remember the brand, but they gave me two books like this thick. And when I got the book, it was just a photocopy of something, right? So it was so unprofessional, and I was like hesitating to go through it. That is it the course material I'm supposed to read? But I did solve everything. So it had a lot of question papers from last year's seed
Okay.
examination, and
Okay.
just knowing about line weights, knowing about lightings and 2D and 3D, 1 point perspective, 2 point perspective. So all the basics of drawing,
Okay.
right? So which is very important to crack seed examination. So you need to present on paper what you're thinking. And
Right.
in order to do that, you need to have some decent sketching skills.
Right.
So that's how like I prepared for it, and I started sketching things around me like sharpener or pencil box or a bottle from different angles. So it was very bad sketches. Like initially I used to like get so discouraged by whatever it looked like, but I kept doing it because
Mm.
it's a skill, right? It you can develop it over time. So the
Yeah.
number of times you make a straight line,
Yeah.
100 or 500 times you will get a straight line or you will get a proper circle. So
Exactly.
it's something like that. So I just practiced that in my free time.
Mm.
So I was still like doing my engineering subjects, and this was my like free time thing
Yeah.
that I did. But now the competition have
Oh, it has
it
increased
is much
tremendously.
more
Yeah.
because good, it's a good thing as well because now
Oh,
people
yes.
are
Mm.
recognizing that design is a
Exactly.
field, and
Yes.
in terms of industry people are willing to pay designers for
Mm.
some work. So unlike before, unlike they didn't know what design is, right? Like
Yeah.
just making a beautiful artwork, they thought that is design. But now the understanding has grown among all the industry people, and there is a developed network, like closed community of designers, which like supports and give opportunity to aspiring designers. I guess that has improved.
Mm.
So competition is definitely tough. I would agree to it.
That's true. That's true. So, what suggestions or what advice would you like to give to, um, especially girls who are, going for
Especially
transportation?
girls.
Yeah, because, I come in contact with a lot of students these days because I'm into this line of
Hmm.
mentoring or teaching, design
Hmm.
teaching to students who want to get into design. Now they come to me and ask, especially the common question that girls ask is that, do you think um, graphic design is suitable for girls? Okay. I've had
Oh.
even parents have come to me and asked me saying that,
Hmm.
which field is better for girls?
Hmm.
So I would
Hmm.
want
Okay.
you to, answer that question. Uh, that would
Hmm.
be really good.
Yeah, I think design, there's so many fields, and there are a lot of women designer in fields like interaction design, illustration, graphic design. There are a lot. There are few in automobiles, or I would say because of this social society or social stigma, there is this mental model that technology is for men and it's too
Yeah,
complex for women
yeah,
to understand. Because of that, a lot of girls, they don't even attempt to do something like that and pursue
yeah,
something like this. So automobile design, I would say, it's again, it's not only about beautiful sketches and rendering, but it's a lot about creating this right mix of emotional and rational aspects. So design is about that, right? You need to balance that thing out. And I
yes.
think like women are pretty good at it. So they can think about the various aspect to solve a problem. And
Mhm.
those minute details. So I guess like women, they are pretty good at it. And graphic design is all about going into like pixel perfect details, right?
Yeah,
And knowing about different types of typography and things like that.
yeah,
It's very fascinating, and there is a huge scope. It's irrespective of gender, I would say. Like
yeah,
it's they are a lot appreciated because like women, they are designers. They design themselves
exactly.
uh, every day, right? So they know uh, how to present things, how to conduct things, and how the thing will impact the society or others. So they already have that skill, and it is well appreciated and acknowledged in industry, and that's why there are a lot of women designers in various industries.
And
Mm,
anything that you would suggest to the design students who are, in their design colleges right now?
design colleges. So so they already have certain set of understanding about design.
Yeah,
So I I would just suggest that be open-minded, be flexible, and be ready to learn from others, because it's not like if you have design degree then you are a designer, because I see
yeah,
that there are a lot of common people who can design wonderful things. So you
yes,
can learn from everyone, and design is all about empathy and designing for others. It's not just um, art form which you're doing for yourself for your own satisfaction. It's all for society or for others. So just be more aware of the surroundings, the environment, and be proactive on pursuing different types of people, because it's all about hit and trial. Unless and until you understand the work or the industry, you will not enjoy it. And it's very important for any designer to enjoy their work. Then only
yeah,
they can be more creative, more productive. So it's always good to like proactively talk to people in different industry,
right.
right? Yeah. So that is there. Mhm.
Absolutely, yeah. And before we come to the end of this session, I would like to ask you one
Mhm.
last question. So, what is your favorite
Okay.
mobility vehicle and why?
Bicycle. I love bicycle.
This is a coincidence because even I am a transportation designer. Okay, I love cars.
Mm,
I have been interested in cars all my life, but
mm.
I would definitely go and buy a bicycle first. Like
True,
that is
true.
something.
Nothing can beat that.
Yeah, exactly. Good to know that you think
Awesome.
the
High
same.
five. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, why a
Awesome.
bicycle? Why a bicycle?
Because it's a very personal thing, first of all. You can get a very high performance car or very high performance motorcycle, and you need to develop skills to like manage or control that machine. But bike is like you grow together. It's it's a
Yeah.
more a partner kind thing, and you know your limits because of your strength, body strength. So
Yes.
it's an extension of your body, right? So you can feel that connection even more,
Hmm.
unlike when there is a powerful machine involved. So that's how I related.
That's true. That's very
It just
beautifully
made
put, actually. Beautifully put. And I completely agree to that,
thank you.
hands down. So
Cool.
this was a really amazing conversation, Pallavi. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining today, and I'm really confident that a lot of people are going to find value in this discussion,
Oh,
and I'm gonna
thank you.
definitely uh, direct them to you for sure. Whoever comes to me
Awesome.
and asks who is
Awesome.
going like if they want to have a chat or something about design or anything, I'm
Sure.
gonna connect them to you for sure.
Thank you so much. Like
Thank you.
I I appreciate you initiated something like this. So yeah,
It's a pleasure. It's a
reach
pleasure.
out to people. Awesome work.